All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Gray Area. My name is Maria, and today we have the awesome New York-based Codes here with us. So yeah, thanks so much for having us.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah. So you're based in New York, right? You were born here?
In Rochester, New York.
Rochester.
I
Okay,
just
cool.
actually moved back. I was in Brooklyn for almost 20 years. And then about almost a year into the pandemic, I was like, shit, I need to be closer to my fam. And like my parents are here, my sister and 91-year-old grandmother's here. So I've been in like La La Land traveling in New York City for the past long time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out how to do this from the hometown.
Yeah, no, I
So
get
that's
that
that's where I'm
completely.
at.
What part of Brooklyn were you living in?
I was all over. I started in Greenpoint and then Williamsburg and then Bushwick and then deeper Bushwick and then almost Ridgewood. So I was like,
Progress.
lived in Williamsburg when it was cheap.
Yeah.
And then it slowly just got pushed out, pushed out, pushed out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I live in Greenpoint, so trust me, I know about those rent prices.
Nice. Yeah, I love Greenpoint. I used to live
Yeah.
on Nassau and Jewel. That was
Okay,
my
nice.
first
Yeah,
place.
I'm on NASA and close to McCarran Park, so that's
Nice.
funny. But yeah, well, I guess my first question now that we're talking about New York, like being from a state as New York, like even though you grew up in Rochester, I'm sure like, being in a state close enough to New York City, kind of just like, like it's such a international city with a lot of different diverse like art and music culture. Would you say that being from New York kind of like influenced your love for music with so many, huge artists being from here?
Yeah, totally. Like even um out here in Rochester growing up, there was a pretty thriving rave scene and DJ scene, I would say, for this was back in the vinyl days, but Green Lantern used to play on the radio station out here, and there's all kinds of inspiration from the there's a bunch of different colleges like the RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, and U of R, which
Mhm.
were two places I used to skateboard when I was really young. And then eventually I started DJing there, and that was the first radio station that I DJed on.
Nice.
But New York City, once I moved to New York, though, that's a whole completely different story, though. Like from just walking around in the buildings and the people. And I remember seeing, and one day seeing like Mos Def walk by me on the street, and then um who was it? It was a famous comedian, like two, and I feel like it's changed a lot since way back then. But
Yeah.
man, there's so much inspiration in New York City, especially New York City.
Yeah.
That's one thing I definitely miss about it is I would just
Yeah.
the last studio we had too was in Dumbo, and
Oh,
you get on
nice.
the roof and basically touch the train on the bridge next by.
That's
So
so
like
nice.
take a break, go up on the roof and just like see every view possible from up there. Like
Yeah.
I do miss that quite a bit.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you like plan on maybe coming back eventually, or you think you're gonna stay closer to family for now?
Yeah. Well, the idea is I got a house out here now. So now I want to get uh, an apartment somewhere out there and then
Okay.
get a spot out in LA too. So I can be,
Have all three.
yeah, I'm
Nice.
still getting there. That not quite there yet.
Yeah, nice. Well, I'm sure you'll get there soon enough. But yeah, now that we're on the topic of family, like would you can you tell us more about them? Like did they play any role in like your love for music? Like anybody, either whether it was like a friend or anything, like was there someone in your, environment growing up that kind of like shaped your love for music?
Yeah, there was a couple people, gratefully a couple people, especially my father. He uh, was worked his butt off his whole life, but was a really talented um, artist, not just like painting but also he was always drawing and doodling ever since I can remember. And I think that's where I picked that up from too.
Yeah.
And then he's always had a guitar in his hand.
Okay,
Since
so
I've been a little
artist
kid. Yeah, I
Our
have
runs
this.
in the fam.
Yeah, I have this. Every time I think about growing up, especially in my household or in the backyard, my dad always had an acoustic guitar strapped to him, jamming. Um, and then his brother, my uncle, actually moved out to LA to play bass.
Okay.
And before I was getting flown over there to DJ, I always went over there every summer since probably I've been 14, 15 years old. And I would stay at my uncle's place for a week out in North Hollywood and then
Okay,
go
nice.
to all the different record stores. And that's when I started buying records and really getting into raves and drum and bass and house music and all the good stuff. But
Ooh, okay.
so both of them totally played a pretty big role on influence and inspiring. That's why I've been real lucky to have supportive
Yeah.
family where everyone believes in what I do
Yeah.
and
Love that.
yeah, supports me. Like I can't ask for a better fan.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you still go out to LA often, like to visit him, or is he still over there?
Yeah, I'm luckily I usually DJ there a few times a year. So
Yeah.
I always go and either stay with him or he's always I'll pick you up from the airport.
I love
Even if I
that.
got someone out like the promoter's supposed to pick me up, he's always I'll pick you up
He's like, I
from
got you.
LAX. Yeah.
Nice. So you got the best of both worlds. You got the New York life, you got the LA life. That's amazing. That's like everyone's dream.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, love that. So did you when you first started like really appreciating music and like deciding like, okay, this is something that I want to pursue, did you always think it was going to be like electronic and house music specifically, or like were there other genres that you were interested in at first that kind of like led you to where you are now?
Shit, that's a great question. I started playing guitar
Okay.
um pretty young, I would say 11 or 12, and then got really big into rock and blues. Um and then hardcore and punk and always was into hip hop. I think actually I was into hip hop when I was younger, at
Okay.
the very beginning of like Snoop and Dr. Dre and
Oh yeah, those
LL Cool J
yeah.
um and then I started getting more into I've been through literally every kind of music. And to be honest, when I first started DJing, I didn't really care for house music that much.
Okay.
I was into hip hop, jungle, and drum and bass were like my shit. And
Yeah.
then slowly kind of evolved into or was turned on to the right kind of house music, I think.
Okay.
And I see that a lot now too, which is a funny parallel. Is they're starting to have house stages at the dubstep festivals.
Yeah, for
Kind
sure.
of seeing a lot of dubstep headbangers graduate to
Into
like
the
more of
house
a
head.
house music
Yeah.
thing. But I
Yeah.
feel like it's a natural evolution. That happened to me a
Yeah.
long time ago. But then I got into dance hall and reggae and turntablism and like you name it, every kind of
Yeah.
music I've been
I love
into.
that. Well, that's what makes a great musician, just like appreciating like all types. So I love
Like
that story. Did you decide to DJ kind of as like a hobby at first, or like it was just something you were kind of interested in, or like how did that come about?
when I the first time I saw DJs always intrigued me for some reason. And two early memories I have is seeing Scribble on MTV. Maybe it was The Grind or TLRL or something like that. But
Okay.
him and
TBT.
someone they were jumping on and off the turntables and scratching and shit. And then I saw Juice, which still one of my favorite movies. And then my older cousin Woody took me to a rave when I was about 14.
Oh
And
wow.
that was back. That's how I'm dating myself because that was when everything was all ages.
Yeah. Good times.
A different era for
Different
sure.
era.
But
And everything was illegal, low key.
yeah, it was the beauty of it, and this is what I feel like is missing a lot today is the rarity of stuff. And
Yeah.
this is why I have a big obsession and interest in NFTs as well. But you go to when you're leaving the rave, there's a mixtape table and it would be broken up in genres, and that's where you get your music from. Like
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't YouTube, there
Yeah.
wasn't Spotify or iTunes or anything like that. So you had to get your music from either person in your life that has a mixtape that dubs you a copy or lets you borrow it, or you buy it
You buy
from
it.
a store or the rave. And I got this was DJ Venom, Return of the Jungle Warrior. Uh, and I was supposed to be home like super early. And I had talked my mom into letting me go out, and I called her from a payphone.
Oh my God.
Mom, she said that I had to be home by midnight. Called her at midnight. I said, I'm going to be a couple more hours. And she said, you better get home right now. And I just hung up the phone and stayed out all night
Oh,
long.
was it worth it?
It was so worth it.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
But to answer your question, I hearing that, and this was to be honest, it was jungle music that really got me first, and which progressed into what we call drum and bass now. And this tape was like a Bible, and it just like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is like what I'm doing forever.
I love that.
But it didn't like blow up like it did. It took a really long time, and not until I really got into music production and all that. But
Yeah.
I always knew I was going to be a DJ, and especially after that one night. And I still listen to that
Wow.
tape
That's
to this
crazy
day.
that you said that, because that was actually one of the questions that I had for you. Like I was just super curious to see if you like had a specific moment in time that you remember that like where you realized like this is what I want to do. So that's great that like ever since you were 14 and like going to that rave and listening to that is kind of what did it for you. Love
Yeah, and it
that.
stuck with me. And that tape was kind of how I got all my homies into, because back then nobody knew what this
Yeah,
kind of music was, especially in
yeah,
high school. Like
definitely.
the only other DJ in my high school happened to be Kill the Noise, who ended up being one of
Oh,
my best friends.
really?
So we went to
That's
high school together
wow, that's
and
crazy.
kind of plotted on taking over Rochester
I love that.
and now the world. But
Small world, small
yeah,
world.
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's a fun fact. I didn't know that. Love that. So obviously like this is kind of like this was your introduction to the scene, and this is like when you realize like this is what I want to do full time. Ever since making that decision, I know you said that you were pretty young, but how have you managed to build the connections that you have, and like kind of create this iconic sound that you have made, to kind of stand out from the rest? Like what did you decide that you were like, this is what's going to make me unique as an artist?
Uh, it's so I was DJing for a long time, not a long time, but quite a while before I started producing. And then I went down the path. I started writing music for commercials. I used to work at a music house called Pulse Music,
Okay.
right in Union Square.
Okay, nice.
And I did that for a minute. And then that was kind of my goal, was to make a living off music. And I was writing music for these commercials, and rarely would anything that I liked really go. It was usually something for a commercial, not something to that you would want to go and listen to at the club or whatever. So then I made a new goal where I was like, I want to make a living off of the music that I want to make.
Yeah.
And that's when I started really, I guess, honing in on what kind of music and what I would do. But it was so hard for me to focus on one thing that, and still to this day, it's still pretty a mixed bag of all kinds of different. If you really listen to any of my tracks,
Mhm.
there's little Easter eggs of like jungle and house music and hip hop and reggae and funk and disco. Like everything's in there somehow.
Yeah.
So that's always been. And when I was trying to come up with my name right before I put out my first EP on Slow Roast Records, about 11 or so years ago now, I was going by a different name, and I wanted to come up with something fresh, and I couldn't think of anything. I was trying to think of something gimmicky and like
Mhm.
smooth, and that's when I kind of realized what my sound was too, is where eventually it just came to me. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go by Codes because my
Yeah.
name's Cody, and Codes is just a nickname that I had
Yeah.
growing up. And so that's my whole philosophy is like I do me. Like I
Yeah.
just do what
I
I
love
want to
that.
do.
Yeah.
Usually it's kind of in more of a house music realm, but it's
Yeah,
everything pushed
it's
in there.
mixed sounds. It's like you don't always have to be tied down to one specific genre, you know, and that's what I love about your sound. It's just like a little bit of like a mixture of all the genres you do love, and you kind of like turn it into your own sound, and that's amazing.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And then just going off that question, like looking back, is there anything that you would have maybe done differently? Like, you know, now that like some time has passed, like, is there anything that you kind of would have done differently?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Part of me would like to say no,
Okay.
but there's all kinds of shit. Really, the biggest thing is thinking before you speak.
Yeah,
This
for
is
sure.
like a life lesson for everything and everyone is letting other people talk first, whether it's business or personal or whatever. Hear what the other person has to say and think about what you're going to say and breathe before you
Okay.
say things.
Yeah.
There's so many times where I've gotten into, oh yeah, I'll do that. You know, $500. You want to do this? Yeah, shit, I'll do that for it. And it's like, no, wait a second. Let
Yeah.
them hear what they got to say. It's like, shit, I could have got $3,000 out of that or something like that.
Yeah.
Not just on a business thing, but also
In general.
on a personal thing. And that's one of the craziest things about this is there's people that I've known for so long, and you do good by them, they're never going to forget that.
Yeah.
You do bad by them, or you just are inappropriate, or let's say rude. And that's a philosophy I have too, is don't be a dick, is
Yeah, for
because
sure.
you never know. There's been so many times, even just being like, I'm sure you're familiar with Webster Hall, just being at Webster
Yeah.
Hall before I was out touring anything, and seeing random people in the green room or whatever, and some people be not very nice to other people,
Hmm.
and those people don't stick around for there's
Yeah,
no longevity in that. um
sure.
so that's something that I think I've been pretty good about, but more on an advice tip. I think that,
Yeah.
being good to people, and you never know, even producers, like some producers send me music that's terrible, and I never really say anything bad or dismissive or anything, because you never know, literally a year later
Yeah.
that could be the next John Summit or some shit, like
Yeah,
just
no,
out of
I
the
get that.
blue, people
Yeah.
just pop.
Exactly.
But
No, and I agree. And like, you know, this industry, like it's small, you know, like you would think it's big, but like at the end of the day, it's like you go somewhere and you're like, oh, I know you from, you know, X, Y, and Z. And it's just crazy. Like there's a lot of people that work in this industry, but at the end of the day, like you can see them anywhere, like in the world. So it's definitely good to just, you know, keep that mindset. I love that.
well, that's the beauty about, I think I saw uh Alex post, um tweet something that's saying like, oh, I saw somebody.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking. It was a recent tweet.
Yeah, and he's like, I saw someone in another state and we knew each other, but we didn't know where. And like
You just,
that's what
yeah,
the
and they
rave
like,
scene is, or some
yeah,
shit.
they like
That's
hugged or something, and they're like, and that's the rave scene.
yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. It's true. Love that. But yeah, just kind of going a little bit off this topic, but we talked about kind of like how you first started and like how you decided like, you know, I want to pursue this. We want to know more about your first gig and how that came about. So we just kind of love to hear the story of like your first gig and compared to, you know, your most recent gigs. Like you've played at big festivals like Electric Forest, you've done Dirty Bird Camp Out, like how do you feel like, you know, knowing like, wow, this was my first gig, and then like all the ones that you've done recently,
And what was my first gig? My first,
or just
I'm
like
pretty
any
sure
early ones that you can remember.
I'm pretty sure my first gig was playing the Ultimate Breakdown, which used to be a breakdance competition out here in Rochester. And then I played hip hop, but I was really into jungle, and the break dancers did not understand drum and bass then
I
at all.
bet.
And they were like, and now I know some really sick break dancers that are could kill it, but back then it was like, hell nah. They were just like stopped and like, I don't know, they were practicing and like I was DJing and they just stopped and I was like, damn. And I had no idea how to mix records either. Like it's amazing to me to see how easy it is to learn how to DJ now. And back then, not only was it all analog and on turntables and you know there's no screen or anything, you're just using your ear, nothing tells you what BPM anything is. Like you have to.
I love that though.
I lost it for a while and now I do every Sunday I stream and I do all vinyl. Since I moved back, I got all my vinyl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
Out.
Is that your collection in the back?
That's part. Yeah, I got one side and then the other side. This is like the studio, and then I got my stream and DJ setup in the other room, and there's another whole flood of vinyl out there. But actually, the first good gig that kind of opened everything up for me was at Colony Manor Apartments at RIT. My best friend had just dropped out of high school. I think he got in trouble in high school, and he was working as the maintenance man at RIT. And so he had this golf cart that he would drive around fixing people's stuff that lived on campus. And back then, I just had a skateboard or my bike or whatever, and I have a book bag full of weed. And I would go, and after school was done, I go to his meet up with him, jump on the golf cart, and he would bring me around, and I'd sell weed to all the RIT kids.
Oh God, that's
so that's how we met them, and then they ended up turning from weed to mixtapes.
Yeah.
And then we made our first mixtape. Same kids. I had a book bag instead of full of weed. It was just mixtapes. They're giving mixtapes out, and they hired us to play our first party playing that wasn't like in a basement or at someone's house.
A real party.
Yeah, and that's why I got my first residency at a night called the Selva through this guy Flex, who still does La Selva, but he does it in San Antonio now.
Oh, okay.
That was my first residency. I think when I was just about to graduate, or no, yeah, I think I was about to graduate high school. I think I was 17.
Oh, wow.
And we did every Sunday night for like 3 years, maybe 4 years, a long time.
Yeah.
But that was how I learned how to be a resident, how to open, how to close, how to play the main shit, how to not give a shit about the politics and
do your own thing.
Yeah,
love that.
That would be the first one, I think. The first.
Yeah, love that. And then since then, I'm sure you've played a lot and all over the place, but like, what have been your most memorable events that you've done, or like festival appearances in the last couple of years?
I got really lucky last year that I was so worried that everything wasn't coming back, which I think everyone was pretty worried, and had such a busy, I think May, that was either the beginning or the end of May is when shit opened back up, and it just like opened up and people were just going ham. But I got to do obviously Dirty Bird Camp Out, Dirty Bird Camp In, both were just like my first time doing both of them too. And it was,
oh, you did both in the same year?
Yeah. And
yeah, that's awesome.
So good. And two completely different experiences, because one's actually you get to sleep in the hotel, and then the other one, me and Ernesto and a couple homies got a trailer.
Okay, at the actual the camp one. Nice.
It was just like you're just huffing dust the whole not like dust, but just because it's so dusty out there, and it gets real cold at night, but one of the greatest experiences. And Elements was amazing too. But
yeah, I love Elements. Yeah, I went in 2019, but I didn't get to go last year. But I bet that was an experience.
I love those both of those are kind of, or all of those are similar. Kind of like Electric Forest is like that
Yeah, it's
too.
like
But
that vibe, that forest like camping vibe.
yeah, play like a main set or two, and then I'll just go and just romp through the Renegades and just
Yeah.
play as many Renegades as possible. And it's like you get to get close with your fans and make new ones, and
Yeah.
then also just like be like, yo, I'm not too cool to come back here. Like I want to come and kill it everywhere. Like
Yeah, for
I'm all
sure.
about that shit.
Yeah, and I love those camping festivals because they just feel more intimate, you know what I mean? Like even though like Electric Forest is huge, right? But like for some reason, like it just like feels so much more intimate. And that's what I love about those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And then throughout your career, you've released on great labels like Nightbase, Realm, Dirty Bird, as we were just speaking about. You've been on Box of Cats, right?
Mhm.
And like a ton of other ones, but now you have your own label, Holy Moly. So how does it feel to, just like know that you kind of like made a vision that you had come to life?
I mean, it's great. I think that I didn't realize how much work it was going to be. And it started kind of as, being having tons of music and being kind of frustrated with, even though I was landing records with big labels, I wasn't doing as much as I wanted to be doing. And uh, it just, this idea and vision that I had a long time ago kind of like was put to the back burner. And then once I came up with the whole vibe of it and the look and the
Mhm.
name and got all these records signed right off the bat, like it's been a beautiful process. And um, I get a lot of music anyway, so to be
Yeah.
able to curate and pick different music, and now we're doing a lot more events. um, Last year we really started doing them. This year we got a few going on, and it's just a great another outlet. And I got some really cool things lined up for this year too, so I'm hyped.
That's so exciting. I love that. What I know, like you probably get this a lot, but what inspired the name Holy Moly? Like, where did that, where did the idea for that name come from for the label?
There's a whole bunch of things, but the main one was uh, I was trying to think of a name for the label for a long time, and I always had this. I would go on tour. I always went and had uh, Mole Poblano at every city
Ooh,
I've ever been to. So
yeah.
that was every city I go to, and this was just because that's what I
Was your thing.
liked.
Hmm.
Yeah, and somehow I got pinned with guacamole because I was always eating that too. And um, my grandfather had passed away. I actually was supposed to. I was gonna call the label Bumps because that's how long ago I was gonna start the labels when I put
Okay.
out my first record, Bumps. That ended up coming out on Psycho Disco. But once I Googled the name Bumps, on after I'd already got artwork and had everything all figured
Mhm.
out, and if you Google the word bumps, then really gnarly shit like dick bumps and STDs and like that is what pops up in Google. So I was like, fuck, I can't name my label Bumps. If that's what comes up, the first thing you search bumps. And also, my idea of bumps was coming from when you had speakers in your car, you had bumps in your car, like you
Yeah.
had subwoofers and shit. And everyone kind of took it with all different ways and shit. But the uh, Holy Moly came to me. I was going to my grandfather's funeral, and he used to say that all the time when we were younger,
Oh,
when we were kids, and especially when we were kids. But I got stuck in the airport. There's a snowstorm in Boston. I had to change flights in Boston, and I was just like so down and feeling like garbage. And it just like came to me, and like Humpty from Digital Underground is like Shock G is a huge inspiration. So like the nose from
oh,
Humpty Hump,
yeah.
and then on like kind of an avocado body, and to make mole sauce, it's like a whole bunch of it's made with love, usually by
Yeah.
a bunch of grandmas and
Yeah.
moms, and it takes like days and all these
Yeah.
different ingredients, like we were talking about earlier with the different kinds of music genres and stuff,
Yeah.
like, and you got to
Oh.
roast it and grind it, and you know, it's like a 24-48 hour process, and it's like rich, or it can be spicy, or it can be tangy, or it can be, you know, there's so many, there's a green one, a red one,
And there's all
a
types.
brown one. So that's a big part of where the inspiration came
Okay.
from it, and it kind of just opened up from that.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great story. I actually love that. Like, I mean, look, just looking at like, like the logo and everything, like you would never think that that's the story behind it. So I'm so glad that you shared that with us. That's a great, I love that.
We're actually working on a rebrand too, where I'm
Okay.
gonna get a little more 3D with it, and
Okay, cool. We'll
working on
keep a
some
look.
big metaverse NFT stuff that we
Okay.
got coming up.
Yeah, we'll make sure to keep a lookout for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I know you mentioned you guys were kind of like going into events. And you have one coming up next week in Rochester, right?
Yep.
What are you the most excited for that one?
Um, who am I the most excited
Like just
for?
like in general, like because it's at home, or just like is there anything like particular about
Oh,
that
I got
event that
you.
you're excited about?
Well, I think that's when I came back about a year ago, and when I came back, or maybe a little longer than that, I came back and shows weren't going, and everything was just really not good.
Yeah.
And to look back at where I was then, and now to look at here, like not only on a music journey or anything, but also like my mental, my health in general, I feel like is so much, has come so far from, you know, being worried that this career I've been working on forever is gone, and we're never opening back up, and
I know. Yeah.
COVID thing and all that stuff. And to be here and then to have this thing, which my whole idea for it was to have um, a home base that I can have homies come through
Mm.
and build and inspire a scene here in Rochester, um, which is what we used to, like 20 years ago is what we used to, had a really cool thing going on. And there's been ups and downs, and there's still some great crews doing things out here as well, but I wanted to kind of bring
Yeah.
my thing back here, have a home base, and then also bring people that don't usually come through here, and not only like educate but inspire more people, to either old DJs that kind of forgot about it, or new ones that are just getting
Yeah.
started,
Love
kind of
that.
morph the two, and build something special just to inspire people. And then also selfishly, sometimes I have these producers here and I can bring them in the studio for like an extra day, or
Yeah, that's
on the
great.
live stream or something too.
Yeah, because it's close. So you get the best of both worlds doing that. And that's exciting. We'll be sure to kind of like, keep up with your socials and everything. I'm excited to see how the event turns out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So there's this little thing we do at the end of our interviews. We call it our speed round, and it's kind of just like a fun, quirky way to end the interview. So I'm just gonna ask you like random questions and then you just answer them, okay?
I'm about as fast as Johnny Depp
Okay.
when I
All
talk,
right.
so we'll see how fast it goes.
All right. All right, here we go. So, okay, intimate club or festival performance?
Club.
Okay, and then if you're an attendee and you're not DJing, do you prefer a club or a festival?
Oh, that's a tough one. Club.
Okay. CDJs or vinyl?
It depends where, but as of right now, CDJs.
Okay. New York or LA?
New York.
Okay, Yankees or Mets?
Yankees.
Knicks or Nets?
I've never been to a game when they won, but I'll say Knicks.
Okay. Guacamole or actual avocados, like eating them?
Guacamole.
Okay, yeah, same. And then I saw that Instagram video that you posted where somebody was holding like the baby Yoda in the crowd. So I just had to ask, do you call him Grogu or baby Yoda?
I I call him both. I
Okay.
think I always called him Baby Yoda, and then I got corrected so many times that I tried to
Roku.
yeah.
Okay, love that. Yeah, no, it's always Baby Yoda for me, but I love him.
It just doesn't look like a Grogu.
Right, right. All right. And then these are just kind of like would you rather questions. So would you rather be forced to sing along or dance to every single song that you hear?
Dance.
Okay. Would you rather never be able to go out during the day or never be able to go out at night?
I barely go out during the day anyway, so I'll just stick with the day.
Okay. And the last one is would you rather be the absolute best at something that no one takes seriously or be average at something well respected?
I'll be the best. I mean, I'm a DJ. That answers it
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. It was kind of a trick question. But all right, awesome. Thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And then yeah, we'll send over everything, once it's published. But we're really grateful that you took the time out to do this for us, and we're excited to share your story with everyone.
Cool. Thank you. Make sure you guys check out www.welcometocodeshouse.com. We just launched a new site. Got a lot of big stuff coming up.
Awesome.
Appreciate you guys. Thank
Yeah,
you so much. Thanks,
appreciate
Maria.
you. Yeah, bye. So great meeting you.
Too. Have a good one.
Bye. Take care.
See ya.